Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Masked Monologues. I'm so excited that you are joining us here today and tuning into this episode. If you like this podcast, I just want to remind you to leave a review. So, leaving a review helps us because it gives us feedback, and I'd love it if you could tell us if you like the podcast. If you don't, feel free to leave that review. And if you do like this podcast and you want to support us, then please share it with a friend or a family member. I will let you proceed with the episode.
Hello and welcome back to Masked Monologues. Today I have Alexia Clements here with me. She's going to tell us a bit about what she does and share her story with us.
Hi, I'm Alexia Clements, and I am a brand and web designer with Visual Vibe Design Co. It is my company that I started, and we do branding and websites to help businesses take their business to the next level.
I love that. So you say you do a lot of branding and website design. Can you tell us about specifically what you work on, maybe some clients you've worked with in the past, and how you approach each project?
Yes. So I specialize in brands with personality, is probably the best way to describe it. I love brands that are fun or rebellious and bold, something that I can create a whole vibe around. That's why I named my company Visual Vibe, because I love creating vibes for companies. It's more than just logos, it's more than just a color palette, it's a whole feeling and emotion that your clients and customers get when they work with you or when they see you online. They're really making that differentiating vibe that they can attach themselves to and feel like a part of something. And then my process is I usually would start with a discovery call, and then I get to learn more about your business and see if we would be a good fit. And then we would just go into the design and strategy portion.
Okay, so with the design, I'm wondering what do you use to create your website? Do you do a discussion? You say you have this discovery call with your clients. Do you write down notes as to maybe brand colors, maybe what they want to incorporate on their site? And then how do you execute on that?
Yeah. So with the discovery call, it's just a general call to get to know you and your business a little bit better. It'll go over questions like some of your business goals, what pain points are you currently facing right now, and seeing how I can help with that. And then we would go into, depending on if it's brand strategy or website strategy, we would go into the strategy phase, which is determining like your mission, visions, values. We do a competitor analysis, a target audience analysis. I do a lot of strategic research to make sure that your investment will give those returns for your business. And then we would go into the design portion. I use Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop to make the brand design. For the website design, I use Figma for the mockups, and then I can build on Squarespace and show it, or like my top threes. And then if somebody has something, if they want to stay with Wix or another platform, I'm willing to see what I can do to help them. Yeah.
Okay, and you say you do a lot of market research. So with market research, I'm wondering how would someone go about doing market research in a way that's effective and maybe not that outdated, or just finding accurate information, accurate statistics to compare them. How do you go about finding that? Are there any tools you use? Is it a Google search? Is it going on social media apps? Looking in your niche, seeing what other competitors are doing, or how do you do your market research?
Yes, market research is really important when it comes to building a brand and a website because you need to know who is your target audience and what do they need from you. So it's very important that way. The best way to do market research, if you're already an established company, is to create a survey and send it out to either your best customers or clients that you enjoyed working with that you would want to work with again in the future and get their feedback. The questionnaire can include what problems did you face before working with us? Why did you choose us as the solution? Maybe how could we better improve our product or service to best fit your needs? What other subjects would you like to learn about relating to your product or service? That way you can use that as marketing material. So that's the best way to do market research is with clients that you already have helped. Another way you can do it if you're starting up or you just don't have the client base yet is using Google search, using social media to search, looking through comments, looking at your competitors and seeing what they're doing, who their ideal client is. You guys may have the same clientele, but it may be slightly different to that.
And when you're creating website strategy, or let's say brand strategy, what aspects are you taking into consideration? Because I've heard that when it comes to website strategy, you can change up the colors, you can make a couple of sections here brighter or more vibrant, and that attracts your audience to them, or just create this sales funny on your website. So I'm wondering, when it comes to website strategy, what do you take into consideration?
Yes, all of those things. Great points to bring up. We want to create your website to build the know and trust factor about you and your business. So we want to give your audience enough information. We also want to identify their pain points and be able to solve their pain points through your copy, which is the writing on your website. So when somebody first lands on your website, you would need to immediately show them what you do, who you do it for, and what problem are you solving for that person. That goes in your hero section. So you could do that by immediately saying it. We help this business with this type of thing. For a good example would be, for me, I build brands and websites that match your vibe and make you money. So that's what I have in my hero section. Pretty explanatory of what I do and who I do it for. And then you would go on a flow to where you're building the know and trust factor, which can start with identifying your target audience's pain points and how you can help them. You're providing social proof. So this could be reviews or project that you've worked on before. And then when we get down to the bottom, you would have a clear call to action. That is one thing that a lot of either DIY website people miss, or they're just not clearly thinking about it. But we want a clear call to action of what to do next after you get to the bottom of your website page.
And I'm wondering, how did you get your start in website design, in working with brands? And if there's somebody out there who might want to be a freelancer or break into the industry, how would they go about doing so?
Yes. So I started my design career in high school. I took a graphic design program that was a 2-year program. And at the time, I heard something, which is there's no money in design. And that is the farthest thing from the truth. I wish I would have pursued it more at that time. But I just stayed and did little freelance projects when I got out of the graphic design program and just honed my skill because it's a passion of mine. But I would say I really got my start with web design in 2021. My dad has a business and he asked me to build a website for his business. I had never done it before, but I was always good with design and technology. And I thought, if I don't know this, I can figure it out. And so that's what I did. And I really fell in love with the process and the creating of the website and just kept learning and expanding more on that. And then, of course, adding the brand design, because usually to have a good website, you need good branding, is usually the case. So I expanded my branding and really learned more about that and the strategy piece of it, because if you have a pretty logo, but there's no strategy behind it and it's not attracting your target audience, then it's not really the best logo for your business.
Okay, so on that topic of branding and logo, how does your branding tie into your marketing strategy, into actually acquiring more customers, and as you said, targeting the correct audience?
Yes. Your logo is important, but it is not the end all be all. A lot of people think when they start a business, they're like, okay, I need a logo. If you're a cleaning business, I need to put cleaning supplies as my logo, and that will be perfect, which it can work in some cases. But it depends on your target audience, and really developing that target audience persona, really knowing them and who they are. What occupation do they have? What is their income level? What do they value and find important that you can bring into your business and kind of match your vibe with their vibe. So that's your values, what you bring to the table with what they need and what they value. And when you marry those two together, it creates a target audience and a business that will serve that target audience the best, and they will be more apt to choose you. And this can go into set styles. So if you're looking at a luxury logo, it's going to be different than somebody who is just like an eco-friendly brand. They're going to have two different vibes, or somebody that is more of a dark and moody brand as opposed to somebody that's fun, playful, maybe a children's clothing brand. They're going to be.
Yes. And when you talk about branding, is there more to branding than just your logo? Because there's that website design portion of it, but other than logo and website design, does branding encompass anything more?
Yes, branding is more than a logo. Branding is even more than which people usually think of branding as the visual, the logo, the colors, the typography, sometimes the brand assets such as like pattern or icon can all be a part of your visual brand identity, but your full brand identity encompasses your mission, your vision, your values. It encompasses those brand strategy pieces of the buyer's journey, the awareness, consideration, the retention of how you keep those customers, the purchase, all of that stuff. It goes into your messaging as well. So a lot of smaller businesses skip that part of the messaging, crafting your message of your value proposition and what you offer, who you offer it to, and how you do that for your specific customer.
And I believe before we were touching on website text. These days, people don't scroll through all your paragraphs that you have on your website, on your product descriptions, and more people are inclined to view images. So I'm wondering if you take that into consideration, like the visual aspects of it, or if there's a way that you can structure your text so it's more appealing to your audience. So it only takes a couple of scrolls, read through, and it doesn't seem too overwhelming.
Yes, the visual aspect of your website is very important. The flow of your website, the images, the overall vibe of your website is very important. So I've heard the expression, the website image of your images and your layout and everything, that gets people in, but what makes them stay and buy is the copy on your website, really crafting that message to where your target audience feels like you know them and how to serve them best. And that's what creates the sale. And so I would recommend not overwhelming people with a lot of text as far as like paragraphs and paragraphs of text, break it up, add some heading. And people usually, when they scroll down the website, they'll see the images and they'll read the heading of section. So that's your headings are very important. And then it'll lead them into your paragraph if they want to read that paragraph. I work with a couple of copywriters. I'm pretty good at writing copy myself, but I always work with cops just to ensure that I'm getting the best of the best copy for my clients and what they need.
Okay, and when it comes to the writing, do you think that you should write in the voice of that target audience? And I'm sure you do. So, how do you write in the voice of your target audience, especially if you're someone who has not, you're not that person who loves to go skiing, you're not that person who's very enthusiastic about, I don't know, paper dolls or stationery or something that is completely out of your area of expertise. How do you write from that person's perspective, especially because it's required in what you do, because you're working with companies, you're working with brands, your interests might not always align with. I'm wondering how you really craft a message that targets that audience instead of that's you'd like to read. Because I know a lot of business owners, you put out there what they would like to see and what they would like to read. And they're not taking into consideration what their target audience wants and what their desires, needs are.
Yes, I completely agree with that. It's a lot of people think that they are their target audience for their business, which it can be in some cases, but not always. So, what I would recommend is creating, and this goes back to if you take anything away from this podcast, create an audience persona of your ideal customer. You can even find a stock image and just visualize who they are. And then think about who your brand is relating to. So if I was a brand that really wanted to build authority and I'll give an example of one of my own clients. So I was working with a land investing company and that can be there's not a ton of personality within that industry usually. It's not somewhere where, oh, an ice cream place where you can add a bunch of personality. It's pretty basic and pretty simple. But how we achieved a great copy and messaging was we took on the persona of the helpful guide that would guide our target audience through the land buying and selling process. Instead of just saying, hey, we're the authority, this is how we do it, their unique value proposition was that they put extra time and care and resources into supplying their target audience with knowledge because a lot of their target audience were first time buyers. We crafted the persona the helpful navigator to help them navigate through that land buying and selling process. So it just depends on who your target audience is and who your business is to that target audience. There are brand archetypes that you can look into to see what your brand archetype is. I don't have them all listed on the top of my head, but that's a good place to start if you're wondering what voice you can take on for your target audience.
Okay, and now I want to speak about brand associations. So I know some companies will go out there and sponsor either if it's influencers, they'll host certain events. And I'd say this ties back to branding because when some sees that, oh, your company endorsed this, oh, your company hosted this event, it relates back to you and people form this concept of what you are, they form this idea of you. I want to talk about making strategic brand associations instead of, let's say, you're a pet company and then suddenly you endorse this ice cream influencer. That doesn't tie back to your niche. That's just an extreme example. But what I'm trying to get at is the fact that you don't want to be associated with something that's completely distant from your niche or what you do? And how do you restrict yourself to stay within your niche within your target audience?
Yes, a good place to start with the brand association is to think about referral partners. Referral partners are a really good key into creating like your business circle. So, a referral partner is someone that has the same clientele as you, but different services. So, from one client, if you guys were to refer to each other, you wouldn't be impeding on each other's businesses, but it would actually be helping the customer. So, for example, if you're a roofer, you may want to have a strategic alliance or a partnership with a gutter company because odds are, if somebody is getting a new roof, they're going to need new gutters. As well as a roofer might even want to work with a landscaping company, and because they don't impede on each other, but they're both in that household maintenance or the household home area. So I would say finding people that align with what you do, but not impeding and doing the same thing as you.
And the examples you just gave were mainly for service based businesses. I'm wondering how a product based business could incorporate this strategy into what they do, because I believe it might be a little bit more difficult for product based business to gain more partnerships with other companies because they have a product to offer you. And then this additional product that another company offers is almost like an add on, I'd say, or something additional the customer may not exactly need, but is there. So I'm wondering how, if you're a product based business, you can partner, collaborate with other businesses, companies to improve both of your sales.
Yes, this could be finding businesses either with your same vibe that, for example, you wouldn't want somebody that's very professional, has a professional product, or maybe like an office supplies product, and you wouldn't want to match with somebody that has a like a fun product, if that makes sense. You would
Yeah.
want, yeah, that's a little different. So think about your category and what your business vibe is, even if it was somebody that sells office supplies and somebody that sells an office chair. If you guys have two different vibes, we're like fun, innovative. It's completely different than your regular office chair. You wouldn't want to partner with somebody like that just sells like regular staplers and pins and paper. You would want to partner with somebody that maybe has a fun vibe to it. And I agree with the selling products that are like add on. I think that could be helpful in a strategic partnership with product.
Okay. And then we're talking about brand strategy, website design. I'm wondering how can you structure your website that you get so you get reoccurring customers? Because I know it's easier to have the customers that you already acquired purchase more versus acquiring more customers because you've got the cost of acquisition on top of that you've got to factor into it. And I'd say that for the majority of companies, it's easier to resell customers they already have. When you're thinking about setting up your website, how would you bring customers back, give them something more, something new? Because if they've already visited your website, they've already checked out your products,
maybe they want something fresh, maybe it's new products every month. How would you set up a website so that you can retain those customers you've already got?
Yes. This goes a little bit beyond just the website, but the whole marketing piece at large, which I would recommend if you're wanting to retarget customers that have already purchased from you. I would recommend setting up email marketing, which you can do on your website. Of course, you would have to use a different platform such as MailChimp or Flowdesk or a couple other ones. There's one for everybody out there. And I would recommend setting up that email marketing so that you can retarget to them. And of course, when you're doing email marketing, you only want to be selling 20% of the time. The 80% of the time, you do want to be providing that value, those tips, maybe something coming up. Like if you had a podcast, for example, you would put that on there and provide value to. That's what I would recommend. You could also create a resources tab where you are putting new resources, fresh resources for your customers. This can either be things like checklists or guides, or you could even do like a blog style where you break down a certain subject that your target audience might be interested in, updating your services, things of that nature. But getting to those customers that have already purchased from you is easiest done by doing an email search, because odds are they probably aren't surfing your website as often as we would like them to. They probably are like, hey, we're done with our stuff, so we're gonna move on. But if you can get in their inbox and constantly be a source of valuable information, resources, and then, of course, that 20% where you may offer a new service or you may ask for feedback on how you can best serve them, really getting in that mindset.
Okay. And now I'd like to thank you so much for being such an informative and lovely guest on our podcast. I want to know if people would like to connect with you, visit your website, request your services. How can they get in touch with you? Do you have social media? Do you have a website?
Yes, I do. My website is visualvibedesign.com. You can go there and read a little bit more about me, get to know me a little bit. And then, of course, you'll see that website strategy structure in place. So if you were wondering of any ideas on how to incorporate that, I've got a pretty good structure on my website. I do have socials. I have TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And I'm really trying to rev up my socials as of lately. I've got a whole content day ahead of me, but I will be posting a lot more on there and tips showing off my design and how I helped my clients with their struggles and issues. So, yeah, thank you so much.
And if you like this podcast episode, please do go and check Alexia out. If you want more episodes like this, then leave a review or share with a friend and family member.
Thank you.